What's going on, Workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And today we're doing a deep dive into a real big conversation Chris and I have been having behind the scenes, and it's what do we want changed about the Glamour system? I honestly am sitting here, I put out a kind of a feeler over on Twitter, like what one thing would you want to see added to this game? I'll include a link to that tweet in the description for a future video if you guys want to weigh in on that subject. But beyond that, a lot of people came back and had a lot of ideas regarding the Glamour system, and that got Chris and I talking about, like, well, what do we want for Glamour? And today, of all days, is Ishgardian Restoration Day. Happy patch 5.31, everybody. So we did it. We made it here so far, and we're ready to dive in. We'll be giving some full impressions of Phase 3 of the rebuilding here in a future video, so be sure to come back for that. But Chris, dude, let's just dive in. Let's just hit this hard. What's going on? What do you want changed about Glamour?
So the problem with the Glamour system as a whole is that the game is huge. The game is massive. And so one of the great things about this system is, like, Final Fantasy XIV gives you a ton of ability to customize the way your character looks.
Mm-hmm.
And Glamour is a great way to add on to that. And you can take Glamour from every aspect of the game. You can go get Glamour from Golden Saucer,
Mm-hmm.
or from stuff tied to the fact that we're in the first, or from PvP, or from crafting. And like there's just a bunch of appearances across the history of this game, and being able to kind of take that with you is really awesome. But there's a lot clunky about it. So we always ask for bigger dresser and all of that, but I don't want a dresser. I want the achievement system to absorb the Glamour system.
Okay,
I
so
want
what does that
one
look
page,
like?
that allows me to go in and all of my glamours are there. And for crafted items, I want me to be able to basically desynth it into a glamour of itself.
Okay.
So that there's now a use for all those crafting items, because there's all these crafting items that have a unique appearance, but people don't know how to find them. And once you kind of find an appearance you like, you maybe don't keep going. And it's like, no.
You don't know there's so much
500 torsos for dragoons in the game. I only have 490 of them. I'm going to go get those last 10.
So you're saying that instead of having a dresser in which that you kind of take the items and put them in and then you build up what we have with plates for anybody who might not be a 14 player.
Right.
When they added this system, I honestly loved it because I was like, great, this is
massive improvement.
I can just sit here and just like apply. And honestly, one of the things that I get, when we get in videos is like, where'd you get that? People have been making fun recently of your whole pig outfit. If you guys haven't seen Chris, I know, but it's funny because I've been seeing little comments coming up like, hey Chris, all right, I think it's time we talk about the pig here. The blue pig. It's not just a pig. It's
a metallic blue pig.
But
it's shiny.
So anyway, like when they introduced this was all new to me. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, and so that's when we started talking about it. And it sounds like you're telling me that the Glamour system becomes almost like a collection system, a log, if you will, some player form of agency in which that you might not know what it looks like, or does it show you what it looks like so that you could just hunt out the look and that you want?
At a base level, I'd want it to be like the Orchestron scrolls.
Okay.
So you just go in there and you can see the ones you have and the ones you don't have. You can choose to put flavor text on there, and maybe it says where it comes from, maybe it doesn't.
Okay.
Maybe it just says world drop, and it's like, well, I got to go out to the corner of search in Google and see like what drops that, because I don't think it just randomly has a small chance on everything ever. It's like, no, that's a specific fate, or whatever. And maybe it has a preview system in it, maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's what the dresser becomes, is a chance to preview items and kind of build your shopping list.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really just want is like a place to kind of keep all of this, that's kind of perpetually scalable. And maybe your dresser becomes like a place to keep dyed versions and things like that, because I imagine if it's just in this Orchestron scroll, this is just like the base item. You have this item, but anytime you want to pull it out and make a plate out of it, it's like, oh, I want it in red for all these classes. Okay, we'll pull it out, keep it in your dresser, and that one can be modified with whatever you're going to do to it after the fact.
Okay,
because my pick was not metallic blue from the get-go.
So I think to jump in on just some feedback that I've seen and actually do agree with, in the patch notes today, which I'm actually going to be covering over on an episode of Crystal Core Radio, which will be linked somewhere. Like, if you guys haven't seen that podcast, go check it out. We'll dive into the news for 14 today because there's a lot of it. But there's a new hairstyle. They've added a new hairstyle as of this patch. Honestly, I was like, daggone, that's a good looking hairstyle. And it's not often for me. And I'm going to be like as honest as I can be. I always try to be, especially when it comes to Glamour, is Glamour has never been my end game. I don't like when people say Glamour is the true end game. However, there are occasions in which that I see something and I say, dadgum, that looks awesome. Like it's not like every little thing that comes out and I'm like, yep, I got to have it. It's actually like, oh, wow, what was that? Like I was watching like Mioni's stream the other day. I was like, that's a really cool, it's a really cool outfit. Okay, boom. Oh, I'm, like I end up as I engage with different content creators, like, oh yeah, you kind of have that. You get that not through the game, but you get that through kind of the community of players and collections and things like that. But what I would end up saying is that after especially seeing this new hairstyle, I was like, how cool would it be to be able to attach your hairstyles also to your glamour plates, to really have that. I think that the logical conclusion, if they added that one thing, people would say, I would like to attach all these other aspects because like
Right.
like, hey, I want to change my face look. I want to have my different paint colors and things like that. So it becomes an easy rabbit hole, becomes easily the slippery slope of if you do this, do these 100 other million things. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, why not at this time have a different character for every job? It's like at some point that becomes the logical conclusion with if like I want to change my race per glamour plate, etc. Like that I could see that just easily becoming, if they ever did all of these things, we get down to FanFest and they're like, can I change my race with it? Like, yeah, someone's going to have that request. But like the one thing I would say is I wanted to see more hats added to the Vieira and Ronso races, and I didn't think I wanted it until I was like, you know what?
Slippery slope. We weren't supposed to get any.
Exactly. We weren't supposed to get any, but we also weren't supposed to get flying. So, devs, if you're like, don't kill yourselves, but a little extra cowboy hat would be much appreciated, much obliged. Namely because, like, as a Ronso, I do miss my Elzen from time to time, but I was like, it'd be great if there's a cowboy hat. And somebody was like, there is a cowboy hat. I go, all right. I went and bought it. And then it's like, oh, it doesn't work for my race. Like, oh God, I'm that guy. I am now that guy that I've always been like, stop asking about glamour. So I've become that guy. And so the idea of that, having to be able to kind of change up my hairstyle, maybe make more hairstyles for Ronso and Vieira, I think people would love that. But also at the same time, I would like to sit here and have a little bit more control over what I can set in the glamour.
Rebuild the whole thing. I'll add a second one.
Okay, let's rebuild this whole thing. Let's go. What's your second one?
Let's do a deeper dyeing system.
Okay, like what's that look like?
Secondary, tertiary colors. I want to start controlling every color of fabric that's on there. So if there's two different things, if there's like a metal and like a fabric on there, I want to control them both separately.
Are you talking almost like a Destiny shader system in which
yes.
It's like, yeah, okay. So
but I want to have the dyes, the existing dyes, able to apply to that. Other games have had it. I would love to go in and start really customizing gear, and really putting in like, okay, I have a color scheme going on, not just like, oh, everything of mine is red. It's like, no. I have this whole secondary dye system, tertiary dye system. Really add some depth so that your cowboy hat, maybe if it has like a piece on it, I don't know,
applies to your hair and your body color.
Oh
just go nuts. I love when we get to just like spend fake dev money. It's like, oh, by the way, while you're rebuilding the system, please add
while you're there.
Yeah, while you're there. All in all, I think when I was sitting down and when people started talking about like what they wanted to see, I liked your idea of the collection system. It's kind of almost where with the orchestra and roles, like I can see what is missing, and so as a player, I can choose like, hey, let me go find out. Like I don't have all of these roles. Let me go and find out how to get those, and having that kind of mindset. My concern is, and then this is just in my ignorance, so let me ask this question to you. When somebody, like we've often talked about scalable content that gets more expensive as you play. So let's say you could unlock, just for example, a gil cap. Like, hey, you're capped on gil. You can spend 500 million gil to increase your cap. And then the next time it would be 600 million gil to increase your cap. It just, something that it's like every time you go to do it, it gets more expensive. With a collection system and the glamours being that you are limited current in your current space, how do you, because that does force the player to make a choice, how does your system with a collection-based system continue to draw in the person chasing the collection. Because at some point, there will be somebody in the community that says, I got every glamour ever that's paid for, that's in the game, that's part of this special event. What do I chase now?
So, assuming that they don't have the ability to handle things any bigger than the dresser, because that's how they built the system, I think the dresser stays the same size, but you have this scroll menu where you can have a worthless, statless version of the item mailed to yourself. And then you go to the Moogle, you pick it up, and then you store that in your glamour dresser. And it's just appearance only. And then that way you can modify it and all of that. So your glamour dresser becomes like your palette. You can only have so much paint on the palette, but you can have as many paints as you want stored over here. So you can have every item in the game unlocked, and then you choose which ones to pull out of that. And they're free. You just pull them out infinitely. Or maybe you can only pull out so many per day if they're worried about people spamming that. And so you kind of pull out a fresh set, take it over your glamour dresser, dye it, put it in plates, whatever you want to do. But whenever you're done with it, you can just delete that item because it's worthless. It doesn't desynthesize anything. It doesn't vendor for anything. It's worthless. And then when you want more items to go in your dresser, you just go pull that out of this imaginary storage where everybody has undyed base versions. And that's just a binary check, right? That's just a list of has this item, has this. It's not any different than Orchestron Scrolls or achievements or anything like that. It's you have this or you don't have this. So we would all have the same item per se.
Fascinating. It's kind of curious too, because it's at one of the big pieces that drives the economy right now outside of housing is the glamour crafting, etc. So there would be, I guess, an initial rush, and as new players come on, there'd be an initial rush. Players would go and acquire that, but
if your dresser's not full, or if your dresser's close to full, you're not just taking items that you don't care about, which means that if a new item comes out that maybe there's an item that releases with the next dungeon that happens to look really good with something from ARR and something from Heaven's Word as a trio.
Yeah.
You would not notice that combination immediately because you didn't keep those items because you're limited on space. But if at a base level, you could have access to every item you've ever touched, and maybe to turn it into that achievement, you have to delete the item, right? Maybe
So there's that.
So it makes every item consumable, because one of the issues we have with crafting in general is like demand can really soften.
Fluctuate.
And so if everybody in the game, if you all of a sudden make every item can now be acquired an additional 10 million times to become all 10 million players achievement, then that all of a sudden starts to make it to where like, okay, there's actually a desire. I mean, initially they'd be really expensive, but long term, maybe things actually sell for more than vendor because every new player that comes in is like, oh, I don't have that one yet. As just a way to kind of fuel the crafting game.
That's interesting. I love that idea. I love collection games, especially because there is a collection game here, whether the devs intended or not. Like, as players, I want to get all the holiday stuff. I want to get all the pets. I want to get all of these things, and to be able to kind of apply that into kind of something that drives the player to seek out that kind of content, to figure out how to do that kind of things, especially because one of the things they've often done is that, like within the raid series, you get the raid set, but then if you do the harder version, you get the ability to dye that set. So again, another flag on a similar kind of style, which then opens up a lot of options to players like you, in this case of your blue pig. Now, with that being said, Chris, do you have any other thoughts or any of the other things you'd like to see added to Glamour?
No, I mean, that's kind of the big ones for me, is just help me turn it into something that I can engage with, even if I'm happy with my existing Glamour. Like, even if I want all my tanks to stay a pig, like, I want a reason to go out and acquire more tank sets. So that's really it for me. Just give me an excuse to go get more.
And I just want to be able to wear a hat as a lion, as a Rosso. that's it. Like that's my oh, thank you very much, guys.
Can you wear the pig or the chocobo head?
I honestly need to test that out because they one of the biggest surprises they had when they announced it is like, hey guys, yeah, we're not gonna be able to wear like hats, fate or glasses, and then essentially they updated it so that you could with some things, and with the goal of adding more in as time goes on. So we'll have to wait and see. So that's definitely interesting. So the question to you guys is, what do you guys want to see about the Glamour system added, subtracted, changed? Any and all, thoughts are welcome in the comments below, as well as if you guys want to go weigh in on the subject on Twitter. That tweet's really blown up. It's one of the top links in the description. Now, Chris, we have a bunch of topics that we've thought of personally. We were laughing because we want to get like a wheel, like here's the different topics, and we're going to spin the wheel. But we'd like to know if you guys have a particular interest in one topic over the other. So let us know as well in the comments below. We were thinking about talking more about personal housing, like what that would look like, how that could be impacted, because housing with Yoshi P, he recently said more housing is actually coming sooner than expected, but they were working really hard because COVID's really impacted them with server space, because they have to physically go and install these servers. And that is also something we're working on with Ishgardian housing, like being able to have housing there. So personal housing, I lost my little note here. We're talking about what other crossover events do we want to see brought into the game. Right now, Yokai Watch is running strong, and people are having fun with that. If you haven't done it, be sure to do it.
It's a deep event.
Oh, it's deep, but it's gonna like it. Don't sit on it, because at some point you're gonna be like, oh, let me check that out, and it's gonna be like 2 weeks before the patch, and then you're gonna realize this is a grind. We're also thinking about doing talking about ultimates, like a big topic for raiders. I've always hoped for 3 ultimates. We've never gotten it, and they pushed the ultimate to the 0.5 patch, so we could bring that up as a topic. And also the concept of 100% voice acting in the game. What would we want? How would that look? Would be okay with delays? So there's a lot of topics that we've got. Those are some of our ideas. Let us know in the comments below if any of those stand out as a conversation you want Chris and I to have, or if you've got a topic yourself. Yeah, let us know. We'd like to make sure that we're engaging and talking about what the community here is talking about. All right, that's the wheel. Chris, do you got any final thoughts before we wrap up this video?
No, that's it. I'm excited to go touch Ishgardian Restoration again.
Yeah, so we'll be getting back to you guys with our impressions of the Phase 3. So we got Sky Builders, ranks have been reset. It is go time. And now this also kind of puts us to the next big update, which is the Boshan Southern Front. I am so excited about that. I am beyond thrilled about that. And it looks like we are getting very close to that. And I'm just trying to make sure all my jobs are staged. Here's my plan. And before we let you guys go, if you're interested, is I've got Monk to 71, Bard to 71, Dancer is almost 65. My goal is to get Dancer to 71. Therefore, no matter what, if they ninja drop the patch on me, I can take any job and level it through the Southern Front. I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'm going to be able to knock out 2 more jobs before 535. So I'm going to knock out Monk, and then I'm going to work on the controller guides. All right, cool. Then I'm going to put out a poll, and you guys will vote either on Bard or Dancer. And then whoever wins is I'm going to take to 80. And then I'm going to sit on, no matter what, I'm sitting on 1. Because I figured I'm going to at least level 1 job completely through the Southern Front to see how that experience is. Just doing that, no roulettes. I will do probably the dailies because they are so short and sweet. That's just, it's silly not to avoid fairies because they're just so fast, especially compared to the 60 to 70.
Not that big of a zone.
No, it's not that big of a zone. So it's like bop, 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 you're done. Mm-hmm. So that's my plan. That's what I'm going to be working on. Chris has actually got some guides working on. We're going to start sharing that information. We've been working on this all summer, so we're happy to share that hopefully soon. So without all the fanfare, Chris, why don't you sign us off?
Guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.